Fellas, welcome into the Fantasy Football Funhouse. We're back, guys. How have you been, fellas?
Great.
I'm still recovering, honestly.
We got great and still recovering. None of it sounds enthusiastic to me at all. Well, guys, as Steve alluded to, we're recovering from that SFB Podathon, the 24 hours that we did. But, guys, everybody tuned into that. Went overboard in that talk. Let's talk about what have you been doing in your spare time since March. There's no sports on TV, and the sports that have come back on are not the typical sports that we will appreciate. I'm a big UFC guy, so I'm getting that, every Saturday I'm getting that. But there was about a month and a half to 2 month period where we couldn't even get that. But, Steve, typical night, you get home from work, you beat the kids, and you need to settle down.
Wow.
What are you popping on TV these days?
Well, I did watch one sport that managed to last through everything was a little bit of horse racing. So I actually started watching horse racing quite regularly. I was watching it just about every night because I am the type that would come home and put on any type of sport that was on, as long as it was, the top four. Those would be my go-tos. But anything after that, I would have it on in the background. So not being able to do that, I switched to horse racing for a little bit. That was fun for a while. And as most people do with horse racing, I lost a little bit of money with that. Moved away from the horse racing as things like UFC came back. But honestly, I've watched a lot of kids' movies. I've let my children take over the TV a little bit more. And I've just been crying a lot. So something's not out of the ordinary there. But
say that's not new at all.
Yeah.
That's
So I've been dealing. I can't wait. We are on the precipice of getting stuff back. So
yeah, I mean, opening night and just a few days opening night of baseball, my Yankees kick off the first end of the doubleheader, and then I believe your Giants get the Dodgers in the nightcap, and they left the Red Sox out of it, which is really awesome for us.
Yeah, that's great.
It's great for me too, considering this team should be terrible.
Not a typical good year for the Red Sox. I do have to say that. Kevin, what do you?
You know what though? Well, before we go into that, I mean, the Red Sox, we might as well talk about them for a second, because I think the one thing about the Red Sox is that at least this offseason couldn't have gone any better for them. They were taking a step back this year anyway. Now it's a 60-game schedule, which they might actually be competitive considering they have offense, and they get to reset their payroll. This worked out perfectly for us. If the season had been canceled, it would have sucked.
I don't know that they've fully, taken the effect of the possible cheating scandal that they were involved in. Houston took the bigger brunt than Boston. I think for both of those teams, the fact that this happened. Although, did you see the 3 Astros got hit by Royals today?
Yeah,
2 in a row, and then one almost in the head. But what else, Kevin? Since March, both of you guys got young kids. Have you taken more family time? Have you gotten away from sports altogether?
Definitely for me, more family time. Definitely a lot of animals and cooking shows. I feel like I've seen a lot of animal and cooking shows for the last couple of months. I'm getting, to the point where I can't watch more things about animals or cooking. I'm glad.
What shows about cooking animals?
Some of the shows about cooking involve eating animals, so I guess that kind of ties into both. Sure. Although I can't say that I've eaten, shark or anything like that before. And most of the animals, like elephants, I don't know that I would eat an elephant. Elephants seem they have too much personality for me to eat.
An elephant has personality? How many elephants you hung out with?
Have you ever hung out with an elephant? An elephant is very personable. Ask Matt Price. He'll tell you all about it.
I don't want to. He's probably stoned. All right. So of the 3 sports that are set to come back in the next 2 weeks, baseball, basketball, hockey, Steve, which one are you looking forward to the most?
Basketball.
Yeah,
I like basketball.
I knew that was coming.
Yep.
Is your team winning?
No, absolutely not.
Minnesota Timberwolves guy?
Yep, but news came out today. KG looking to get a group together and buy the team. Ooh, boy, that would be awesome. I don't even care if he's good at it. I would just love it.
So evidently Kevin has just been doing P90X for 23 hours a day for the last 2 months because the dude is shredded, as exactly said. Kevin, which one of those 3 sports will you be looking most forward to watching?
For me, it's all about hockey. Of the 3, it's the one that I'm most interested in. It's the one that I find the most entertaining. Basketball's never really been my thing. I'll watch it if I absolutely have to because it's on at a bar. That's about it. Baseball to me has become boring. The product itself on the field is just
Red Sox
downright
good.
brutal.
Makes sense. Go ahead.
It's not even that. I mean, yeah, you know what I find the Yankees actually interesting because at least they have something interesting, right? They're going to hit a ton of home runs and they have younger players that are okay. So, I mean, that's interesting to me. But the game itself on the field, and Sal, you're a true baseball traditionalist. Even you have to agree, it's garbage now. Like it's slow, it's sloppy. The shift kind of ruined everything. It's just
I hate the shift. I do hate the shift.
The shift. It's awful.
You can't take it out of the game because it's within the rules, but I do hate that. I saw we're gonna get to football in a second because the people are probably like, what the hell are we talking about? I saw a hard bullet up the middle yesterday, and there's a guy just sitting there right behind second base.
It's
That would be a nice single RBI. But guys, I got a nice case of IPAs delivered to me for Father's Day by my daughter. It came about 2 weeks after Father's Day, and in it was the Sierra Nevada Hop Bullet, which was exactly what Steve was drinking during the entire podathon. I'm going to crack that open.
Now, so what's the alcohol content on that? Did we discuss this on the podathon? I forget if Steve disclosed that information.
Steve, did you know?
It's in the 8s. It's a strong one.
Oh,
it's good. It's got a nice little taste to it too.
Yeah.
Our friend Dynasty Outhouse apparently does not like double IPAs. He was very anti double IPAs when we talked to him. When I talked to him in the chat after the podathon.
Double IPAs and IPAs in general are definitely not for everybody. The thing about double IPAs, though, is that what people don't like about the IPAs and their bitterness and their hoppiness, the double IPA, because it goes through the process twice, it actually takes a lot of that flavor out of it, and a lot of that they're usually a lot smoother than a regular IPA. So, double IPAs, they might scare you a little bit.
Plus the 8% alcohol content. So you can't figure that much.
Can't lose with that.
So, Steve,
a num juice tonight. This is a Fall River beer, and it is a hazy IPA, and it is actually very good. A friend of mine told me to get it the other day, and so I did, and now I like them.
Hazy, much
Steve,
like most of your recollection of the podathon, according to Zach.
I don't know if you can pull up our the other comment right before that, though, Sal. Steve, everyone wants to know, where's the podathon chair?
Well,
Is he taking the night off?
Podathon chair, he got a little too big for me. He said he didn't want to support me anymore. And so he got kicked to the curb. And sometimes when you sit out, you get upgraded. And look I got a Tom Brady, Drew Bledsoe situation going on here. And sit back and sit in greatness. So comfortable. This Podathon chair will never be seen again.
Wow.
Steve did not like the popularity of Podathon chair took on Twitter. And Podathon, by the way, is posting more fantasy tweets than actual Steve Marcus. So,
true.
Guys, we talked about these other sports. We talked about what you've been doing for the last 5 to 6 months that we've been locked up here. Let's get to football. We are days away from the camps actually opening. Rookies have started to report in a lot of cases, specifically for the two teams that'll kick off in 51 days on opening night, Thursday, September 10th, the Chiefs and the Texans. Now, we know that there's going to be no preseason games. That was made official today. 0 preseason games. Guys, 95 players tested positive. It's been upgraded to 59 currently. I think that 95 went back to when they started testing in March. 59 players. The 95 was 3.2% of NFL players, which is higher than we've seen in some of the other sports. So they've gotten really good test back. And in all the other sports, they're getting ready to play very low percentage numbers. Give me the percentage that we kick off on time on September 10th.
Man, I am going to say, I'm getting less and less optimistic as the days go by. So I'm going to say a solid 40%. I'll say 40, a little less than half right now. And a lot of that just has to do with what's come out this week with the players being frustrated with the NFL and not getting everything in order in terms of their testing, of their players' safety, and what their protocol really is for handling a positive test and things like that. You did see a lot of movement over the last couple of days. They said they came out saying they're going to test everyone every single day for the first 2 weeks, and then positivity rates are low, then they'll switch to every other day. So all that's good. What came out today that kind of worried me and kind of got me thinking that they are trending kind of in the wrong direction would be that they said that they're going to need more preparation time. Now, I don't know if them getting rid of all the preseason games, which is also something that just got finalized today, would give them that extra time because they're not preparing for a game. They're able to just work through, more practice type thing. But them saying that when we're this close to being, 51 days, like you said, any slight hiccup and they can be forced to push that back. So I'm hopeful. I want them to start on time. I need football in my life. But it worries me that they've gone this far and don't have all the kinks worked out yet and are seemingly going to have to learn on the fly like the other sports have kind of had to do.
Kevin, 40% was not the number I was hoping to hear come out of Steve's mouth. So I got to turn to you. Give me some optimism. Make me feel better about this.
Yeah, Sal, if you want optimism, just like anything else with the NFL, follow the money. They will make sure to play these games. These games will be played because they will miss out on millions upon millions upon millions of dollars, and these are people that do not miss upon millions of dollars. The players will want to play because they need to get paid because the shelf life of an NFL player is far too short for them to sit out any season. That's why the NFL consistently has leverage against the NFLPA. The owners are going to want these games to happen because they frankly don't want to lose the revenue. What I think is actually probably holding it up, which isn't necessarily, I'm sure there's back and forth between the players and the union and the NFL. Obviously, that's been reported. But they, as you said, they're starting to make movement on those things. I think they'll get closer on those agreements and they'll come to a place where they can all be happy with what's going on and but what I think is behind the scenes necessarily that is driving the holdup on a lot of these plans and a lot of the way that they're presenting this information is that, I don't know about you guys, but part of my normal job responsibilities is following what the COVID government mandates are for my employees across the entire country. And I'll tell you right now, there's no consistency anywhere with any plans. And so how can you have one league follow one set of rules when the guidelines for every single community across the country is divided on how to handle this situation? So I think there's a lot of that plays into this. And eventually they'll come to a place where, they may have to agree that there's not going to be any fans in the stands for the first month. There may not be any fans in the stands for the first 2 months, but at least they can get something on TV and start generating some revenue. I really think that that's what will happen. They'll get there, but it's going to take a while. And obviously, the people say that the NFL had an advantage because they had months to prepare over these other teams, but they're also at a disadvantage because we're starting to see the country backtrack a little bit, right? We're starting to hear that things are going to close back down, that the fall could be even worse. Now they're at a disadvantage because, those things are going to happen and they have to deal with the backtrack as they're trying to ramp things up. So it's tough, but I think it'll get done.
I'm in agreement with you about the money thing, Kevin, because this is the moneymaker. All these sports make money, but this is the big one. With that said, on a side note to that, I don't know if you guys saw that training camp rosters will be cut to 80 people. You could bring 80 people into camp where normally it was 90. So already there'll be cuts made before camps open up in the next week. And I think the players, obviously, that are going to suffer the most from that are the undrafted rookie free agents who, that's 320 people, right? That's 32 teams, 10 players, that's 320 guys that there might have been a stud, diamond in the rough, and there is going to have to fight to come back next year. But next year, there's going to be a whole nother class of those guys coming out. So, more than anybody, those guys who've become darlings in the past, we're going to miss out on some of those guys. Let's skip over to the action. Go ahead.
There's always the XFL, isn't there? Oh,
there's not. There's currently not the XFL.
Sorry.
With that being said, I felt like the XFL was good. It was well played. I think it was successful. I think that COVID ruined it. You can shake your head all you want, but you're wrong.
I'm not wrong. I'm not wrong. No, everyone wants that league to have been successful and been great. It was terrible football. I'm sorry. I watched it.
It wasn't terrible.
It was bad.
There is room for a minor league football system. I don't know why we cannot get this off the ground. The most popular sport in this country, and we cannot have a secondary form of it. I understand.
Do you watch minor league baseball?
Do I watch minor league baseball? I hate
Yeah.
minor league baseball. But
Do you-
minor league baseball,
watch minor league
baseball, to your point about baseball being slow and boring, if you're going to take a scaled back version of a slow and boring sport, then of course it's going to be even more slow and boring. But this is the most exciting sport that we have in this country. People will say
it's still not good. There's a reason the Arena Football League never really took off. There's a reason that there's no minor league football.
For 30 years.
And who watches it?
Not me, but people watch it.
This is what I'm saying. It's a bad product. When you take the best players in the NFL.
Was a quarterback there. Look at him now. Not in a good place, Jay. Bad stories coming out about you.
When you take the best players in the world and put them all in one league, and then you have the best, up and coming players, and you put them all in the SEC, there's no room for anything else. That's it. That's all there is.
What to the point of college football, we see a bunch of schools. So far, more of the smaller divisions or conferences, rather, are going to be moving to the spring. And some of the bigger schools are still holding. I hope there's delays for some of those conferences already. So we'll have to see where everything goes. And that's going to obviously for Dynasty going forward next year. It's good. It's still all so tangled and unclear. But go ahead, Steve.
Do you think for those smaller schools where they're going to be moving into the spring, do you think they might consider keeping those sports in the spring where people are obviously wanting to watch more football and having all the bigger schools and their product be done? They would be the only available one. Do you think anybody would be watching that and they might consider keeping their seasons in the spring for football?
I think it affects the players that would graduate and go into the NFL, right? Guys that have the chance to play in the NFL, to be playing at that point so close to when you'd be going into training camps. I think it affects the players. So, no, I think all those guys have to be on a level playing field. Everything that's going to happen this year is going to be extenuating circumstances, right? And we're just going to live with what we live with. But, no, I can't see where that gets changed in the future.
No, I mean, you'd have to change so much about the NFL. You can't have a guy getting off of a college season in, say, like July or August and then going directly into camp, right? I mean, that just doesn't work. So there would be no time for the draft. And obviously the NFL is not going to move their schedule because they're in the prime position right in between, most major sports. Like, they're where they need to be. So I think it is where it is, and they'll move back, Steve. But it's just a screwed up year.
So let's go to this year's rookies. As we stand right now, we're going to have camps kick off in the next 2 weeks. We're going to have football in September, where we stand right now. We've talked about it on many different shows. We've talked about it on Twitter. We talked about it on the Podathon. How will this offseason affect the progress of rookies going into this year? And now with 0 preseason games, guys, how are you feeling about draft and rookie? I mean, redraft rookies is not really a thing anyway. But we all did our rookie drafts. At least most of us did. Some people wait longer. Most people can't wait to do their drafts and auctions. But how do you feel about this batch of rookies? I mean, can we still see a handful of them be successful in year one, or is it just you're going to write this season off and just hope for the best next year?
One of the things that I've been saying on some of the other podcasts that I've done recently is that the good benefit of this whole thing is that the rookie value is going to hold year over year, because I think, to your point, Sal, these rookies, people are going to look at it like a lost year for them. If they come out and they don't perform, people are going to say, oh, well, it was, extenuating circumstances, and that value is still going to hold. So if you had a high grade on a rookie coming into this year and they don't necessarily perform, unless there's a major injury or something like that, I think you're going to get similar value to them next offseason, for if you're trading or trying to trade for them. Whereas in previous years, if a guy came in, got a starting job, and sucked, his value dips. I don't think that happens as much this year, because I think people are going to give them the benefit of the doubt, at least in my mind. Personally, with rookies, I'm tempering all expectations. I think to me, it makes guys like J.K. Dobbins so much more valuable, because we knew that Dobbins was going to have kind of a, not a huge first year anyway, because he's sharing the backfield at minimum, if not behind Mark Ingram. So he's the type of guy that has super amounts of talent in an offense that we think he can succeed in, but has a roadblock in front of him that will probably only be there for 1 year. This is a perfect situation for him. To me, you can hold off on drafting Dobbins, but you're not going to get any discount, like I said. So, and next year he's just going to be on fire, in my opinion. He could come out and do literally nothing. He could have games where he has like 30 yards, and he could play every game this season and have 30 yards a game, and no one will care. No one will care. He will still have huge value next year.
Shane Hallam checked in. This is a good point by Shane. Kevin, he says, value won't hold, recency bias. Fantasy players will turn to the new toys in 2021 that teams draft, and these players will be a great value next year. So I understand guys like yourself and me, I think that we're going to love that good value next year. But we all have those type of guys on the league. Some people are just so excited with that rookie draft that they instantly forget about guys from last year. Like Paris Campbell is a guy that's going largely overlooked this year that I think is an amazing value because, he got nicked up last year. He didn't play as much. The quarterback situation was screwed up. I think that he's in a wonderful position. You can get him where he's going. He's like the 50-something wide receiver off the board in startups this year is great. Maybe in the 120s for overall players. So I could see that point though that Shane is making. So
yeah, I mean, I get it. I understand what he's saying. He's saying that everyone likes the shiny new toys that come draft season. That always is the case. But I just think this year more than others, you're going to see people give them the benefit of the doubt, particularly with some of the rookies. Like I said, Dobbins has that type of situation. A.J. Dillon has that type of situation. He could come out and do nothing, and everyone still thinks he's going to be the guy next year, unless something comes up. Green Bay drafts someone in the first round or something. I mean, guys like this, and then all of the wide receivers are going to get that benefit of the doubt for being wide receivers, and now they get an extra bump because they didn't have a traditional camp with preseason games and things like that. So,
would it be a show or conversation unless we had Kareem checking in with a sentence that definitely has a word that doesn't fit where it belongs, but he says he wonders how the second-year guys flashed last year. I guess that he means second-year guys that did flash last year will do.
I think he was going for who. How to who.
How and who. Okay. All right, Kareem. You're checking in with your typical misspelled words. I love you, brother. You know that. Well, we've seen the rookies start to sign over the last few days as it's become a little bit more clear. We've seen him starting to fall in place with the contracts. Guys, do you know that Hard Knocks is set to still go off this year? They debuted the commercial today, and it's going to be not one team this year, but two teams on Hard Knocks. Steve, could you guess which two teams will be August 11th Hard Knocks?
I feel like I heard this when it came out, but I don't remember what they were. I'll say, is it the two
LA? Strong, Kevin.
Is it the two LA teams?
It is. It is Hard Knocks Los Angeles. So it's going to be the Chargers and the Rams this year. And I don't know that it'll be as exciting as usual, but it will be very interesting to have an inside look into how these teams are managing the social distancing. And from what I understand, the groups are going to be training in smaller groups, separated from everybody this year. So very, very interesting. It's
shocking to me that they want to allow this type of exposure on themselves, where any little slip up for social distancing or protocols is just going to be just destroyed. I mean, it's just unbelievable to me that they want this hell unleashed upon themselves.
That point into what Shane says here is why would more people in a facility with the health risks to do Hard Knocks? Maybe, Shane, they're going to get motorized cameras. Maybe they're going to have them set up in certain places. It is something that they can do. I'm sure it'll be a scaled back film crew, but nonetheless, it'll be interesting to see. And so one of those teams, the Los Angeles Rams, Sean McVay came out and said today, and let's see how we feel about the coach speak. I think it just naturally worked itself out. McVay continued. I think if you look at the success of San Francisco that they had last year with running back by committee approach, what I thought Kyle Shanahan and their players did a great job. We're going to have an open-minded approach. We're going to be committed to try and have some balance, and then we'll go with the hot hand of whoever really expresses himself as deserving of the carries. We've got 4 backs that we feel like are all NFL legitimate starting caliber backs, and not feeling like you've got to force carries or touches to any of them. Just open mind and see how these guys go. The 4 backs he's speaking of are second-round rookie Cam Akers, former number 70 overall pick Darrell Henderson, Malcolm Brown, who out-touched Henderson 71-43 last year, and former preseason standout John Kelly. Guys, nobody wants to hear a 4-man committee. We know that across the NFL, it's pretty much 2 players in the backfield. everywhere except for maybe Christian McCaffrey at this point. Kev, we'll start with you. One, do you think this is the coachiest of coach speak? And if you had to pick one player in that backfield that you would draft highest right now for a redraft season, who would it be?
Yeah, first of all, I think if we're going to do another one of these shows, probably next year or whatever, the next time we get to another podcast, but if we're going to do another one, I think what we need to do is come up with some kind of coach speak meter so that we can rate, comments on a scale of how much coach speak it is. This one would be pinging all the way to the right, in my opinion, the highest part of the meter, because it's garbage. It's absolute garbage. The first thing that he said, the absolute first line that he said in that quote, is the only part that's right. It'll work itself out because someone will be good and the other guys will suck. And so, and maybe two guys will be good like we've seen in other teams, and the other guys will suck. But ultimately, it'll work itself out to the point where they'll have a rotation of mostly two guys. I think it's going to be Cam Akers. I think Darrell Henderson, despite, our friend Zach's comments about him being hot garbage, is probably in line to take in that secondary rotation. I would love to see John Kelly because I was a big John Kelly fan when he came out, but I just don't see it happening. Usually at this point in your career, you've either pinged a little bit, especially as a running back, or not. But I think it's all coach speak all the time. Cam Akers is my guy. I drafted him everywhere. So, Steve, what about you?
I would agree. If I had to pick one of them, I would say it's probably Cam Akers as well. I think Malcolm Brown doesn't get very much love when all he's done is come in and done pretty well and filled in pretty nicely for some fantasy owners.
He has 700 plus total rushing yards in 5 years in the NFL.
Mm-hmm.
Shut up about Malcolm Brown.
Right.
Can
we talk to Malcolm Brown?
He'll cost you nothing. You can get him at the end of your draft.
Oh yeah,
there's a good reason.
You can definitely get him at a value. That's for sure.
So, but no, I think it'll be Cam Akers. I think he will be the one that proves to be the guy there. And then I think that Darrell Henderson probably will get the mop-up duty for him as well. So I'm not going to stray too far from what Kevin said. I think Cam Akers is the guy.
Oh God, 3 point. He has a 3.9 yards per carry average for his entire season. Steve, Malcolm Brown, just
got nowhere to go but up.
Right.
Chris feels he'll be on the field for his blocking ability, which is possible, but especially with Akers not being able to get the live play time in the preseason to work on that. So good point, Bob. I was on a Rookie Fever podcast this past week, and I made the same point. I also said Cam Akers. I think it'll be a 60-40 to start with Akers and Henderson. I mean, Henderson's another guy that with all the excitement last year and talk about Gurley's knee, he was jumping up in the first-round rookie drafts at one point, if you guys remember. He was a highly thought-of guy in a rookie community, and he was talked about a lot. But then, he didn't dress from weeks 2 to 6 last year. And then he played, I think, 12 games and got no touches in 6 of them, and 2 and 1 touch in 2 of the other games. It was weird the way Henderson was used last year because there was a spot for him. So maybe Malcolm Brown does hold some kind of a value. I don't know. Guys, I don't know if you noticed, but Antonio Brown retired again. Did you guys reach for him anywhere in like the SFB, or do you own him anywhere? Are you holding him on the Dynasty roster anywhere?
Yeah, I actually have him in Capitalist Pigs 1. I think I bought him for like $5. Obviously, it's Bankroll League, and it was something like that. John Bosch was getting rid of him, so I took him off his hands, and this was last year at some point towards the end of the season when there were rumblings that he might try to come back. Whatever. I'm not going to cut him because at this point in the season I don't really need to. But it doesn't matter. Does the fact that he's announcing his retirement again matter either? No, I'll still hold on to him until he's done. I think it was like 2 hours on the the reports that I was looking at. It was about 2 hours before that they said that Seattle has done a deep dive on him and understands his abilities. So who knows?
I drafted him last year, 3rd round in a redraft team, and as soon as I drafted him, I felt like complete garbage. And then I had him on the bench his one game for New England, and that was it. So
By the way, he keeps posting that picture of the one touchdown, like he never played in Pittsburgh. That's the only picture he ever posts of him is him in New England. He's dying to go back and play for that organization. He never did actually play for Oakland, so
he would be back in New England if he hadn't tweeted about Bob Kraft. I mean, like that was the nail in the coffin. They would have taken him back throughout all this, I think, at the end of the day. But you can't badmouth the owner.
The guy in SFBX took Devonta Freeman, AB, and Alshon Pup Jeffrey. So, seeing as he brought up Devonta Freeman, that was one of the guys I was going to bring up. He came out today, or his agent came out. His player rep says his client would like to find a new team in the immediate future. We want to work out a deal in the immediate future, and we're open to any team, said Drew Rosenhaus. I like how they say his player rep, like we've never heard of Drew Rosenhaus. He's healthy, he's in shape, and he's on a mission. I'm on a mission to have him give a team a lift in late July. Freeman drew scattered interest throughout most of the spring and early summer, but it would seem he's asking for far more money than any team is willing to offer. He should check it with Cam Newton about settling for some money and getting in with a good team. Guys, the teams that have been bandied about are the Eagles, who always bring in somebody to screw things up. So we finally see Miles Sanders is maybe going to get the bulk of the touches, and this guy might land there. And the other team we'll be hearing about is the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. He's going to sign somewhere, right? The guy's still got plenty left in the tank. Steve, where do you think he lands?
I think Tampa would be a solid fit for him. I think it would be a nice veteran presence there. They got a lot of young guys in the backfield with Keyshawn Vaughn, and then, of course, what's his name? No one ever talks about him ever, especially not Twitter.
Ronald Jones.
Yes, him.
Oh, he's been talked about on Twitter, all right.
Yeah. And so I think he would be a good veteran presence there, even though I know he's not super old either, but he's had success in the league. I think he would fit in very well there. So I would root for him from a fantasy perspective to go somewhere like Tampa Bay. But, man, it would be fun to watch him go to Philadelphia.
Oh, no, it wouldn't. Don't get me started with my rants. Yeah, but where do you feel he's going to land?
I don't know. I'm looking at the rosters right now, and I can't find a good spot for him. I really can't. I mean, I think Tampa Bay would be fine because I don't really trust Rojo, and I'm not a Keyshawn Vaughn guy, so I don't think he's going to be the play. So I think he'd be a fine fit there, although I do think that would end up being a rotation as well, probably worse than the Rams would actually be. So I'm looking across the league, and where there's really not a whole lot of good landing spots. Everyone seems to have their running backs. I mean, you could see him in a place like Pittsburgh where Connors is a guy that's frequently injured, and he could fill in there. I don't know, but there's really not a whole lot else out there. I don't particularly believe in the two guys in Buffalo, although they seem to be getting a lot of hype. So I could see Buffalo being a team that could use a veteran presence. They got two young guys. Neither are proven, in my opinion. So, but if you're a Singletary fan, I apologize because they seem to love him. So,
I mean, Singletary is explosive. The guy makes big plays. He's an every down back. I don't know that he's the guy that's going to carry the load for you late in the game. You need to bully out some yards and get some first downs. He's probably not that guy, but maybe Zach Moss is. We'll have to wait and see. We have some interesting ones coming in. Shane brings up how about in New York to back up Le'Veon Bell. Zach checked in with Arizona.
That's a good one. I like that one because I'm not a Drake believer.
I'm not a Kenyon Drake guy either. Kevin, like I said, he's got to drop. And I actually have gotten him in a couple of in the third round of a couple of drafts, but he's not a first to second round guy for me this year. I'll take the flyer on him in the third round. Jacksonville, if they trade Fournette. Oh, my God, Fournette to Philly. So one way or another, Devonta Freeman's going to come in and screw stuff up. But
I mean, there's no way that Philly's not going to do something stupid to ruin, Miles Sanders. I mean, it's Doug Peterson. We've been saying it for how many years now, Sal?
Oh, I have rants going back to 2017 about old Dougie Boy.
That's right.
Check those out.
Listen, I want to take a break real quick to go back in time and talk to my friend Gabe, who asked the question about podcasting in his pool. So I feel like now's a good time. We're going to take a little break and talk about podcasting near water. As I did podcast in a bathtub for a long period of time, Gabe, be very careful with the water. Your computer, it is electricity that will hurt you. So that's my biggest advice.
Wow, Kevin is so smart, Steve.
Is he? I wasn't listening.
Yeah. Listen,
we just lost all 14 viewers when he started talking.
No, that's fine. I appreciate that. It's very important to keep your computers away from water.
I've actually heard such things. I actually spilled an entire cup of water on my laptop in the middle of the night and then didn't realize it until the next morning. And yeah.
How's that laptop working now?
Well, needless to say, it doesn't work anymore.
Right, so there you go. See, more advice for our friend Gabe.
Guys, last bit of player news I'll bring up, and I bring this up because it is a player from Kevin's team. But Kevin, by the way, how is this year going to be different for you not being able to go to the Patriot games? You're old. How many years have you had season tickets to the Patriots?
So we are on this would be our 11th season, I believe.
I mean, pretty good chance that the wife is going to be, making you actually do stuff on Sundays now because you're going to be always around.
No, never. She would never do that. Even the home game or the away games, she's a great wife. Lets me do football things all day long. We never have expectations on Sundays during the football season, so she's good about that. I think what we'll probably do, honestly, is the guys that I go to the games with, we're going to try and do some, tailgating at home kind of thing where we set up the TV outside, throw some, put the cornhole boards out there, play cornhole while we watch the games on TV outside and sort of try to emulate the game as best we can and do things like that. But, it is what it is. We think we haven't heard anything from the Patriots yet as far as what they're doing, although they did come out and say they were giving away free parking, which said to me that they're probably not going to actually have fans because they're not giving up that revenue. So I think that was like, oh, let's look good about something. And then, we'll cancel the fans in the stands anyway.
So call back to Doug Peterson. Yes, there was a tremendous Festivus rant from Liz Lowe's about Doug Peterson. That would be Festivus 2018, I believe.
Very good one. Very good one.
It was really, really, Liz is tremendous, is she not? She brings it every time she comes on, it's straight fire. She
always fire.
Good at what she does. So the guy I want to bring up, Kevin, to you, and with the change of quarterback there, and is it going to be Cam? Is it going to be Stidham? Regardless of who it is, you have a lot of question marks at wide receiver. You got Welker, who's getting older, has really played with mostly Tom Brady, and how is he going to be now with a new quarterback? And does that new quarterback show him the favoritism that Brady showed him? You have N'Keal Harry, who's going into year 2, who has all the ability to be a breakout star. And you have another guy who they put a second-round draft pick out for Mohamed Sanu last year. And ESPN Boston's Mike Reese reports that Mohamed Sanu has hired a full-time coach to live with him this offseason. So to Shane's point of earlier, he's bringing more people into his home during COVID time to live with him. Per Reese, Sanu is hoping the unusual setup creates a situation where his relentless offseason work produces tangible on-field results. In 2020, Sanu is smarting after his injury-marred Patriots debut in 2019. He is reportedly faster, quicker, leaner, and in better shape following off-season surgery. Often forgotten in discussions about the Patriots, Sanu could be in for a bushel of targets after the team surrendered a second-round pick last fall. Kevin, is there any chance that Mohamed Sanu could be the absolute sleeper of fantasy drafts this year? And should you be taking him if he's dangling out there at that low ADP?
Yeah, I do think you should be taking him. There's one thing that I've known to be true about all NFL teams and not just the Patriots. And mostly NFL coaches and GMs. They hate being wrong. They hate being wrong more than I think anything in the world. So when you send a second-round pick to a team for a player, the Patriots do a pretty good job of cutting bait when they have to. But I think they're going to give him every opportunity to succeed. I think they realized that last year was an injury-riddled season for him when they got him. It didn't quite work out, with him and Tom Brady. Didn't get really on the same page with the injuries and whatnot, practice time, who knows. But I think that he's coming in with a fresh start, and I think he's going to get some targets. You have to start looking at reducing the amount you're depending on Edelman. For one, Edelman's older. He's going to be, what is he, 34 coming into this season, 35? I don't know, something in that range. So you got to depend less on Edelman. They have to still throw the ball. They can't run it, every single play. So I think Sanu gets a decent amount of of targets this year. He's going to have a pretty high target share.
By the way, talk about running the ball in New England. We all know that that's where Devonta Freeman signs, right? At the end of the day, he's going to New England, Steve.
Don't hate. Don't hate on Sony.
Steve, what do you think about
Sony.
Mohamed Sanu? You grabbing him at a nice value?
I mean, he is cheap, so he's coming at a point in the draft where you're not really going to hurt yourself by drafting him and taking the chance on him. I am much more of an N'Keal Harry fan this year. I think he is going to be the receiver to own for the Patriots. I'm leaning in that direction. I don't have anything against Mohamed Sanu. I liked him in Atlanta. He had those blow up games, but it'll be interesting. It's going to be an entirely new offense, so you can't assume that everything's just going to go to Edelman like it would have with Brady. Cam's going to be running that offense differently, so I don't think you can count him out. And like I said, the price for him not going to hurt you, but I'm going to be leaning towards Harry.
So earlier today, our friend Trade Fantasy, David Oliveira, has put out a tweet. What are you most looking forward to seeing on the field this upcoming season? And my response was actual football being played. And as you guys were talking, I got
and yet you like the XFL.
I got a response of nope to my tweet from Jeremy Ruckett's father. So that's an interesting tweet from a guy who has a son at Ohio State who's prepping to play a season. I think I'm going to be needing to make some phone calls this week. Talk to some people. I'll probably get Bill Ruckert quicker than I would get Jeremy Ruckert these days. But I have to check.
Where is Mr. Ruckert? Where's Jeremy Ruckert? Why isn't he here? He's the second most popular person to be on the show behind Steve's chair.
That is true. Steve's chair definitely pulled ahead in that race. He's in Ohio, to my knowledge. He did go back to Ohio. He did spend the whole offseason working out. He built his own gym in his garage, a wood rack system to do everything to do. He went back to training with his old high school trainer that prepped him for college. So the kid was working. I could tell anybody out there who is a Devy player, grab this kid, Jeremy Ruckert. And I got him in every league that I play in. That's Devy. It's only 3 leagues, but I own him in every one of them. And he's not
paid in every single one of them too.
Yeah. He's not going to be cheap next year. I didn't. I got him for $1 last year in Kitchen Cinco because I didn't tell any of those guys ahead of time. So he was really, really reasonable. Guys,
you found the one group that didn't know that don't listen to you. Basically,
that's it. Nobody listens. Nobody listens. Most people just put up with me.
That's very true.
Guys, I asked Steve earlier and what conference he was in the SFB. It's because I already knew what Kevin was in because I stumbled across it. But we're going to wrap
in the same conference.
You and I are in the same conference. I didn't realize that until I was scrolling through something that I'm going to bring up in a second. But just quick, you don't have to go through your whole rosters and everything about that. But I think I know Steve's answer already because when I asked him, he told me my team stinks. But Steve, obviously, how did you enjoy the SFBX experience this year? Getting in last minute, obviously, on the Podathon, we all knew that you were getting in. I mean, at least I knew. Scott checked in with me daily and asked me how worried you actually were. I haven't told that to you, but you got in on a show. You drafted with Matthew Berry. What was your experience, and how do you think your team did?
My team is absolute garbage. I am in the sorry division, which, like I said, very fitting for me for Scott to place me there. And it was a tough division. We had Matthew Berry in there. We had Jen Smith in there. Ken Moody from DLF is in there. Matt Goodwin, who sent us the Red Vines for the Podathon. We had all Tony Reimer, our buddy Mr. Meeseeks, and then a couple other fans and some other gentlemen in there as well. And it was a good league. I was hoping to get Kittle or Kelsey to start off. They both got picked before me, so I took Deshaun Watson and Kyler Murray as my first 2 picks. And then from there, by the next time it got back to me, I was staring at garbage. And I just, throughout the rest of it, every time I made a pick was awful. I was on the end of every run. I didn't start any runs. I was just picking up scraps throughout the entire draft. So if I do not come in dead last for the SFBX, I don't know what happened to the rest of you guys, but I deserve that. And I'm aiming for it potentially this year.
Does it make you sad that I got Deshaun Watson at the 201? I'm sorry, the 212. The 212.
You know what? A little bit, but you also requested your spot. You requested your spot.
I did not request my spot. much like Kevin, and we said it. We were on the Goat District podcast, and we were asked that question. I did not ask for 101. I left it blank. I never asked for it, and Scott gave me 101 because he likes me better than you, a lot better than you. That's not what this is about.
It's not. But I'm just going to stare at all the 101s this year.
All right, before I get to this, the reason I asked you at your conference, Kevin, how was your experience this year at SFBX, and how do you feel about your team?
I did things in this draft that I would never do. Starting with the one thing I said on the Goat District podcast that I wouldn't do, which is starting with a tight end. I took Kittle at the 109, so that started off my roster. So ultimately, because it's a roster that's not typical of mine, I hate it. I hate everything about it. I'm light on running backs. I have long shot, wide receivers with the exception of Chris Godwin, and I have it's some good tight ends. But I had fun with it. We had a decent group. We had a good Twitter chat. There was a point where we were setting the record for tight end runs and things like that, and people were cheering people on to take one more and things. It was a good group, and we had a lot of fun with it. So I went into this draft thinking I'm not so worried about how the team shakes out. I want to have fun with it, do some different things, and that's kind of what I did this year.
Yeah, actually, if you go onto Josh ADHD's app and it says longest run, you guys had both the longest tight end run and the longest wide receiver run. My division had the longest running back run, interestingly enough. So we were involved in all that this year. My division, it was not the slowest draft, but it was pretty goddamn close. We
weren't far behind you.
Yeah, it's funny because I was complaining and then I saw yours, what round you were in. I'm like, oh, Kevin's really not that far ahead.
Actually, at the end, I think you guys passed us by you finished up just before us. But
I would say it lasted 12 or 13 days. 13 days, I think. And Mystery Rel. So I had the 101, which means I picked last. And for me, I took Jameis Winston as Mr. Irrelevant.
Okay.
And, Breeze is not young. He pissed off some of his teammates this year, so maybe they're not going to block for him. But if there was to get an injury, which I don't wish for anybody, any player, no matter what. But I figured Mr. Irrelevant, he'll probably be the first guy I drop to pick somebody up if I need him. So, guys, have you ever heard of RateMyLeague.com?
I have.
Did you see that they released their SFB conference rankings yesterday? If you go to @RateMyLeague, you can click on their pin tweet. I believe the pin tweet is actually for the satellites, and the second tweet is for the actual SFB. Did either one of you venture into those and look at those?
I did not. I was tagged by our good friend, Mr. Curly-haired son of a bitch that you call him, John Bosch, because apparently I was very low in the rankings. So
there's 96 teams in each conference, and John is in that same conference as us. Kevin, you and I, John's in there. And Steve, I'll start with you. Out of 96 teams in Conference 14, where would you guess your team came in?
I'm going to guess a solid 92.
It's a very good guess because it is 93. You are 93 out of 96.
I'm not surprised.
On that ranking system. And go check it out because it is a lot of fun. They break down players, the age of your players, all that stuff. And they're a good group over there. Kevin, where did you come in? Conference 3, which we're in together. Conference 3 at 96 teams. Where are you?
Was it dead last? Did I get 96?
You are lower than Steve, and Steve is 93, but you are not dead last. You are 94.
Nice.
And just to preface this, I did not go into this looking for that. I saw this tweet yesterday, and I went to look for mine. And as I'm scrolling, it starts at 96. And I'm like, holy crap, Kevin's at 94. And I'm like, okay, let me scroll down. And then right before he came on, I said, I got to find Steve and bring this up on the show. And to my happiness, Steve also sucked.
Oh, man. Yeah.
Now, of course, you had the 101, so you took Christian McCaffrey, right? So I assume you have a high ranking.
I took McCaffrey, and then getting Watson at the 201 was great, right? I mean, I did not expect Deshaun Watson to be there at the 201. I was hoping at that spot to get a quarterback and a running back. And honestly, all the running backs, even those the next tier guys, Jacobs, Aaron Jones, even Kenyon Drake, Eckler, they were all gone. And so I did go to Deshaun Jackson. I did go to Deshaun Watson and Zach Ertz at that spot. And so I got one of the high ranked tight ends. And I'll say something I know is going to upset Kevin. I took Ertz over Andrews, which everybody was taking Andrews as the number 3 tight end in this draft this year. And I decided to go with Ertz. I feel like the wide receivers are either aged out or inexperienced in Philly. And I think both tight ends will be getting a lot of work this year. And of course the running backs. But yeah, I was actually surprised and happy to see that I ranked 14th out of 96 teams. Now listen, this means nothing. This is all pre-ranking. Should the season not go off though, and we don't get to play fantasy football this year, this will be where you finished, guys. 93rd, 94th in your conference.
That's good to know. I'm glad I'm aware of that. So 94th, that's good. Not dead last. Did they rank the conferences though? Because like if I'm 94th in the conference 3, but conference 3 is the number 1 conference, then maybe I'm still in a good spot in the overall league, right?
I will have to tag them and ask them that question. I will definitely tag them and ask them that question.
It's all math.
Guys, I know this is unusual, especially if I'm leading the show, that we're 50 minutes in and we're going to start to wrap up. I know it's a neat and tidy. It's going to make Kevin happy. It's going to make Steve happy. So let's go to Steve. I don't think he's prepared for the traditional sign-off, but let's see what he's got in him, Steve. Give us a parting shot.
Well, guys, thank you for listening to this episode of the Fantasy Football Funhouse. You can follow us on Twitter at FF Funhouse. You can follow Sal at SalLitoFF and follow Kevin at Kevin Cotillo. And I am at Sid Skeet. And that's it. That's all I got. Not too shabby.
You could also send us an email. I don't think we've once gotten an email. Send us an email. It's fantasyfootballfunhouse@gmail.com.
I didn't even know the email password. Okay, so I'll go up next. I'm gonna let Kevin close the show traditionally how we've always done it. Again, just a big shout out to everybody that was a part of the SFB Podathon. It's the first time we're talking in one of our own forums. Since then, we hit $42,000, mid 42,000s, guys. This was insane. What it grew to this year was tremendous. That leaves us plenty of money to send to Kevin and Steve both to go do shopping in their towns and to support Toys for Tots locally there. That gives me money to do it here. That gives us 21,000 plus to send to the Equal Justice Initiative, which is amazing. I'm trying to reach out to them now because I want to really make sure that gets in their hands. And it was just an amazing year and an amazing group of guys. And I'm so happy I got to do it again with both of you guys. And then I'll just turn it over to Kevin because I know what he's going to finish with.
Yeah, I mean, there's nothing much else to say except add some charity experience to your league this year. I mean, if we have football, there's no better thing that you can do than get involved and get your league to do something for charity. So whether it's take some of the league dues and donate them to a good cause, whether it's Toys for Tots, Equal Justice Initiative, some COVID relief, whatever it may be that you feel passionate about, get your league involved and get to do it, or get them out together, obviously in a socially distant manner, but get yourselves out there and do some good work. You can do some charity while you're socially distant. You can go clean up a park. You can go plant some trees. You can do that while standing 6 feet apart from your friend. I promise you it can be done. So get out there and do some good in the world. Listen, guys, thanks for letting us get together. I'm talking to you two because I always have fun talking to you guys when we do this podcast. So hopefully it won't be another year before we do it, and we'll get back soon. And with that, I don't know. Do you think Steve even knows how to hit the button anymore?
I'm useless.
Maybe the chair can hit the button. Can we have the chair hit the button?
See ya.